The next person that we're inducting is really unique. In today's world, we have Mr. Jeffrey Bodine, not Jeff anymore, has to be Jeffrey. He gets confused with that Jeff, what's that guy, Gordon or something like that, and Jeff Burton. I defy anyone in this room to argue this point. If you go coast to coast, Canada east to west, north to south, into Canada, South America, and New Zealand, you mention the name Marvin, and everybody knows who it is. Marvin Rifchin, a unique individual. A more interesting note is that this will actually be Marvin's second Hall of Fame. A few years ago, he was inducted, along with Don Garlitz, into the Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and that also makes Marvin unique. Marvin started out as a young man going to the midget races. His father was in the tire and recapping garage business. He went to the midget races and became hooked on racing. He became a real bug. He started fooling around making midget recaps at the time, some were made out in California, some down in Providence. Marvin came out with a better tire. In the early 50s, he was the first tire manufacturer. I believe it was 52 or 53. And I remember seeing the ads for Race Master and Speed Age every month. The first tire made as a new tire and not a recap for stock cars. In the late 50s, he came out with a new tire for drag racing. Marvin is truly a pioneer. I personally met Marvin, I hate to say it, but 40 years ago when I went to high school with his son Bobby. Marvin, once again, is unique. He's quiet, serene, but one of the most competitive people you'd ever want to meet. For many years, he drove his competitors, Goodyear and Firestone, absolutely crazy. They used to wonder how this little guy, a little business over in Watertown, Mass., right outside of Boston, could compete like he did. Marvin, as well as any of the noteworthy race car drivers in this organization, in this room, was a fierce competitor. Marvin liked to win. There were times in Marvin's career when Goodyear and Firestone made overtures to buy him out. He values his independence, and he said no. When most people in their 50s and early 60s are thinking about retirement, Marvin built from scratch his own tire plant to make his own tires in Gardner, Massachusetts. The plant is still going today. And I don't want to say that Marvin is in his 80s, but he told me the other week he's about 83. He goes to work every day, 100-mile round trip, and he is as competitive as ever. Speaking as a car owner, Marvin was like a big father to me. I'd go over on a Saturday, try to con him out of a few tires for the dirt car, and he was very good about it. And he'd say, okay, do this, do that, change this spring, do this, do that. I'd come in sheepishly on Monday with the tires. He'd look at the tires and he'd say, you son of a, you didn't do what I told you to do. We all loved Marvin. Some of us wanted to kill him some days, but he was a wonderful human being. He helped a lot of people out in their careers. When I was talking to Marvin the other week, he mentioned names like Frankie Schneider. He said, you know, Brucey, he said, you take guys like Leo and Hop and Freddie DeSaro and Bugsy and Bergen, Greco and those guys, they were real race car drivers. And then he said a few uncomplimentary things about some of today's people, and I agree with him. And I think most of us would. But Marvin is a hardcore racer. Marvin is like Frank Sinatra. He did it his way. He is still fiercely competitive, a wonderful human being, and just a great all-around guy. I think Marvin is probably one of the few people in this room who has touched everybody's life at one time or another. When I spoke to him last, I said, Marvin, when are you going to retire? He said, when they close the casket. He said, I'm a workaholic, I'm a raceaholic, and I like to tinker. I love what I'm doing, and as long as I can, I will keep going. I'd like to bring up a real racer, Mr. Marvin Rifchin.
Thank you, Bruce. It's been a long, long night. I would like to thank the nominating committee for the honor being given me tonight. But I have some apprehensions and some concern about all this. First of all, the New England antique racers. You know, I'm just not ready to be classified like that yet. About 68 years ago, I developed a real bad habit. I had a bug bite me. And that damn bug has been biting me ever since. And I'm still looking forward to the challenges that it has to offer. I was very fortunate in that in the New England area, I was able to become involved with stocks and modifieds after the heyday of the midgets, practically right from the beginning. I had the opportunity to work with an awful lot of talented racers. And you know, in those days, we were driving by the seat of our pants. We didn't know very much. We knew a little bit and tried to do the best we could. The tire problem there, oh boy. All we had were retreaded tires that were capped by the various tire manufacturers. And when I think of the number of times we bought the wall, it's a miracle that I'm still alive, let alone racing. But as progress and inroads came in, things got better. We raced all over the country. We raced in some foreign countries as well. And we had a lot of thrills. Speaking of thrills, I've had a few in my career. Oh, like the first time a car won a race, maybe the first time it won a championship. How about one where you see your name in stone on a monument and you're still alive? Now that's a thrill. Not all the thrills have been pleasant. I can remember one race, the old Norwood Arena. 5,000 to win, I'll never forget it. The car had just taken the lead, 10 to go, and the right front failed. That wasn't pleasant. Neither were the participants. But we prevailed. New stuff came along, things got better, and I think we have a base today that racing has grown from. The only regret I have, I didn't buy any NASCAR stock. That was one bad mistake. But speaking of thrills, I think this is probably one of the more thrilling moments of my life. This gives me an opportunity to renew old friendships, old acquaintances with people I haven't seen in a long, long time. And to me, that's worth all of it. Thank you again for the honor. Thank you very much.
Over that way, I'll hold you the plaque. Over that way, you'll put your plaque up. This is his plaque to keep. Yep. Here's a jacket we hope you wear proudly. Your jacket with the name on it. That's the Hall of Fame issue. Only 15 people so far have these jackets. So here's a private membership card. And then I'm going to draw one of these programs, one of them, number 1 to 8. This one? You'll get numbers 1 through 8. I don't know which one you're going to get.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Marvin bemoans the fact that he didn't have any stock in NASCAR. Well, I kind of disagree, because I think Marvin held stock in a whole lot of little pieces of NASCAR. How many drivers out here didn't ask the tire man to carry them for at least a week, at least once a season? So he held just a little bit of paper on NASCAR drivers and on some of the sport's pretty greatest stars. So I think he had a pretty big piece of it.